5 critical mistakes senior officers make after allegations that set them up for failure. I've watched 2-star generals get reduced to lieutenant colonel. I've seen 20 and 30-year careers destroyed in 72 hours. And in every single case, these senior leaders made at least one of the 5 critical mistakes guaranteed they'd lose everything they spent decades building. Here's the thing. The military justice system has fundamentally changed, but senior leaders are still operating like it's 1995. The reality is rank no longer protects you. The good old boys club that used to protect people from courts-martial is dead. And leaders who don't understand this reality are getting absolutely destroyed. Let me tell you about an Air Force 2-star general who thought he was responding to allegations by the book. He fully cooperated with OSI. He trusted the process. He believed the truth would set him free. According to his own civilian defense counsel, this general gave investigators everything they asked for. Today, he's retired as an 06. His career ended in shame, and his decades of service have been marred by its end. Some would argue his defense counsel was ineffective because he wasn't fully acquitted. Others might say the lawyer did okay because the most graphic offenses ended in acquittals. But at the end of the day, this general's career is over. And unfortunately, this is not an isolated case. I'm seeing this pattern over and over with NCOs and officers. So, in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 critical mistakes that are destroying senior military careers. Mistakes that even the most experienced leaders are making. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly why decorated generals are losing their stars and how to avoid the career-ending traps that most don't see coming. Now, something that needs to be absolutely clear is what's actually at stake here. We are talking about 20, 30 years of military service, and not just risking that career, but risking their entire retirement, their family's financial security, and their legacy. Even if you don't lose your retirement entirely, the difference between retiring as an 08 versus an 05 is not just about pride. It is literally millions of dollars over your lifetime. And for a senior NCO who loses rank but still gets to retire, that person can still lose hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. And that loss is not just personal. It affects your spouse who sacrificed alongside of you for decades. It's your kids' college funds. It's everything you've worked for. Let's be real. Our military service members do not serve for the money. They are honorable, self-sacrificing individuals who put our country first. But after decades of that service, your retirement pension is incredibly important. That pension is what allows you to finally address all of those things you put on hold, your family put on hold while you were serving our country. And whether you're looking at the loss of difference from different ranks during your retirement, or you're looking at losing your retirement entirely, either of those, both of those, are a completely different financial reality for you and your family. So let's break down these 5 mistakes. Mistake number 1. Falling for the truth will set me free myth. Mistake number 1 is the deadliest, and it is this: believing that full cooperation and telling the truth as early as possible will protect you. This is the myth that destroys more senior leader careers than any other defense mistake. It is the idea that this process is all about truth finding, and that being open and honest with investigators as early as possible, consenting to searches of your phone, the truth will come out. And you'll get to continue your life as a senior NCO or officer. That is simply not the case. Let me be brutally honest with you. This military justice system is not about truth finding. The process is about building a case against you. And when you cooperate fully at the outset, you're handing them everything they need to destroy you. Remember that Air Force 2-star general I mentioned earlier? His own civilian defense counsel confirmed that he fully cooperated with OSI, and he still got court-martialed, his career still ended, his rank was still reduced at retirement. Here's what senior leaders need to understand. You have rights under Article 31 in the U.S. Constitution. You have the right to remain silent, you have the right to request counsel, and you have the right against unreasonable searches and seizures, which means you do not have to consent to searches of your phone. But here's what happens in reality. Criminal allegations surface. OSI or CID or NCIS shows up, and your instinct, built after decades of being the person who solves problems, who leads with integrity, who has absolutely nothing to hide, your instinct is to cooperate, to explain, to clear things up. But that instinct will destroy you, because while you're thinking you're demonstrating your innocence and integrity early and often, investigators are building a case against you. They are not there to exonerate you. They are there to gather evidence against you. Every single word you say, every device you hand over, every clarification you provide is being used to strengthen their case against you. And the worst part about all of this, senior leaders are particularly vulnerable to this mistake because you've spent decades being the person everyone trusts. You've been the commander, the SEL. You're the person who fixes problems. So when allegations hit, your natural response is to take charge and fix it. But you cannot fix this by cooperating. You can only make it worse. So what should you do instead? The moment allegations surface, exercise your rights. Your right to remain silent, your right to request counsel, and do not consent to searches, period. Now, I know this may feel wrong. I know it feels like you're acting guilty, but here's the reality. The process is designed to gather evidence against you, not to exonerate you. And your instinct to be honest and transparent is exactly what will destroy you. Mistake number 2, going to the staff judge advocate. Mistake number 2 is going to the staff judge advocate and relying on the command legal office for advice when the allegations are against you personally. Now, this one comes up because senior NCOs and commanders have served their countries for decades, and many times they have gone to the staff judge advocate over and over for advice. You relied on that SJA. You worked with them. You trust them. Hell, they might be your neighbor. But here's the distinction that destroys careers. When allegations of wrongdoing come out against you personally, the staff judge advocate is not your friend. The SJA's mission is to defend the command, not you, not the individual commander, not the particular person they've come to know and trust, not even the person who signs their performance reports. They defend the actual command itself, the unit itself, the service itself. And there's a fine line here that many senior officers miss. There's a difference between going to the SJA for help as the commander of a unit to resolve issues like alleged toxicity in the command or bad unit climate versus allegations against you often raised using the same methods for alleged toxicity or harassment. Let me give you a striking example. There was a 2-star Army general who had allegations come out about problems in the unit. This general went to the staff judge advocate, and the SJA actually successfully helped convince the governor of that particular state that there was nothing to see here. The issue went away, so this 2-star thought everything was good. But as time will tell, everything was not good. You don't want to rely on a staff judge advocate for your defense needs. Instead, you want to go to an experienced military defense lawyer, because through time, the issues did not stop for this general. And ultimately, that 2-star, while he did not go to a court-martial, he was forced to end his career, and he retired as a lieutenant colonel as opposed to a 2-star. Think about that. From 08 to 05. That is a long fall for any officer. And here's why this mistake is so common. After decades of going to the SJA for advice, senior officers cannot easily flip that switch. You've built the relationship. You've trusted this person with sensitive command issues. So when allegations hit, your natural instinct is to go to the person you've always gone to. But the moment allegations surface against you personally, your trusted advisor becomes someone whose interests are fundamentally opposed to yours. They are protecting the institution. You need someone protecting you. And unfortunately, by the time most senior leaders realize this, they've already said too much. They've already provided information that gets used against them. They've already damaged their own defense. So let me be clear. If allegations surface against you, do not go to the SJA for defense advice. Get an experienced military defense lawyer immediately. Mistake number 3, waiting too long to hire the right lawyer. Mistake number 3 is waiting to hire the right lawyer, waiting to hire an experienced military defense counsel until after charges are filed, hoping the case will just go away. Not getting an experienced strategic defense until it's too late. This happened to an Air Force 2-star general who attempted to resolve the issue without a military experienced lawyer. He tried to work things out with the alleged victim and her spouse. He tried to resolve this on the outside without first going to an experienced military defense counsel. And in doing so, that 2-star general set him up for conviction of an Article 120 violation for abusive sexual conduct. It wasn't just a conviction. It's what the general said during that critical time when he should have hired a lawyer that was used against him. Now, that particular general ended up retiring as a colonel. So once again, many years of service down the drain for that person, just by not hiring the right attorney as soon as possible. Here's what happens. Allegations surface, and your instinct as a senior leader is to solve it. Get it done. Handle it. You've been solving problems your entire career. You've led troops into combat. You've made life or death decisions. Surely you can handle this. But therein lies the critical mistake. Because while you're trying to handle it, the system itself is moving forward. Evidence is being gathered against you. Institutional pressure is building. Command influence is taking root. And every day you wait is another day you lose ground you can never recover. Now, something that's important for senior leaders to recognize is actually what you have at stake here. After decades of service, what you're risking is not just your reputation or your continued military career. It is legitimately your financial interest for you and your family, for the spouse and your kids that sacrificed on your behalf, on our country's behalf, while you continued to serve. So when a criminal allegation arises, when a rumor comes up that somebody's accusing you of something, your instinct is just to solve it and get it done. But that's a critical mistake. Instead, you should bring on an experienced military defense counsel immediately so you can create a battle strategy that is ultimately beneficial not just for you in a potential court-martial, but looks at the whole approach to you, your career, and your reputation. Because here's the brutal truth. You have the resources to hire the best counsel, and you have the most to lose financially. So why would you wait? Why would you gamble everything? Why would you bet the house on the hope that it'll just blow over? Mistake number 4, believing your service record will protect you. Mistake number 4 is believing that your service record will protect you. And I kind of started in on this at the beginning, but let me be clear. Times have changed. Rank does not protect you anymore. Now, generals were not always at risk for a modern day court-martial. Now, if you look back, historically, there have been generals at a court-martial, but not what a court-martial looks like today. A court-martial today is a felony-level criminal trial. The court-martial system has changed over the years, but for many, many years, general officers and senior NCOs were operating under an unwritten policy that they were kind of not to be touched in the court-martial world. There were exceptions, of course. One was a 2-star Army general who legitimately flaunted his violations over and over and over. And the Army just could not protect him anymore. So they court-martialed him. And in 1999, he was convicted. But fast forward to 2025, and rank does not protect you now. Let me tell you a story from my own experience. When I first started serving as a senior prosecutor in the Air Force, we were actually prohibited from dismissing cases or arguing to convening authorities why they should be dismissed, even though we were legitimately the experts in military justice. But I still remember this one particular case where our leadership, the best of the best senior prosecutors, wrote a memo defending a general officer against sexual assault allegations. This was something we were not permitted to do. If we had an E3 or an E7 or an O4 that was accused of a serious crime that should not be prosecuted, we were actually prohibited from protecting that person. But that was at the ground level. At the highest level, our institution protected this general. Not anymore. Now you have people who are retirement eligible, who are retired, senior officers, senior NCOs who have spent more than 2 or 3 decades serving in many different positions that are now being tried and convicted at courts martial. So that old time is up, and it's important to recognize that. The sooner, the better. Once you recognize that you are not protected just by your rank, then you can start looking at these cases more like all the other service members who see an allegation and realize they have to stop whatever they're doing now and protect themselves. That is the new reality. And here's what makes this so dangerous for senior officers. You've spent decades watching rank provide protection. You've seen it. Maybe you've even benefited from it. So when allegations hit now, there's this subconscious belief that your record, your rank, your years of honest service will matter. But they won't. Today, command is more worried about optics, about congressional scrutiny, about media attention than about your decades of faithful service. And by the time you realize that your rank isn't protecting you, it's often too late to mount an effective defense. Mistake number 5, hiring the wrong kind of lawyer. Finally, mistake number 5 is hiring a former JAG. Just a former JAG or somebody who's been around. A former JAG law firm, maybe an SJA that's been around for years and years, somebody you knew back when you were coming up in the military. Even a former JAG who maybe did military justice for some time. Instead of hiring an experienced, active military defense counsel. Someone who is routinely and actively defending courts martial, working with senior prosecutors from the Office of Special Trial Counsel on a day-to-day basis. Even generals make this mistake. In one particular case, there's a 2-star general from the Air Force who first hired a law professor. And let me be clear, there is nothing wrong with law professors. Law professors often have extreme amounts of experience and expertise. Maybe they were a former prosecutor or a former defense counsel. Hell, maybe they were a former judge. Maybe right now they even do some clinic work. But that is absolutely not the same thing as hiring the best of a court-martial trial lawyer. The people who are day in and day out defending these courts-martial. And lo and behold, even after securing a good result at an Article 32 preliminary hearing, this general ended up having to switch gears and actually find a good, experienced military defense counsel for what was ultimately a court-martial that ended in mixed findings. So that's a critical mistake. A mistake that could have helped the general early on. Not relying on somebody who doesn't do this as a day-to-day job for a living. In the trenches, fighting out these courts-martial. I cannot help but think what the difference would have been had that general hired his defense counsel earlier on in the process so that she could have crafted an appropriate defense strategy instead of cleaning up the pieces from somebody else. Here's the difference. You need somebody who understands the current landscape, someone who knows the prosecutors, someone who's worked with the prosecutors, someone who's handling cases every single week, someone who understands the Office of Special Trial Counsel, how it operates, how it's different from the old prosecution offices, and what strategies are effective right now. Not someone who did military justice 10 years ago. Not someone who's academically brilliant but hasn't been in a courtroom in years. You need somebody who fights these battles every single day. because the prosecutors you're up against, they have unlimited resources. They have institutional support, they have political backing, and they are doing this full time. So why would you hire someone who isn't? So those are the 5 critical mistakes made by senior NCOs and officers. And frankly, these are mistakes that can be made by any service member. But it seems to me that specifically, the higher in rank that senior NCOs and officers get, the more entrenched they are in the old system and the reliance on staff judge advocates. And when you put these 5 mistakes together, these are mistakes that are made by senior NCOs and officers more than the junior enlisted counterparts. What makes it interesting is that the senior NCOs and the officers are the ones who financially have the resources available to actually hire qualified counsel. And they have the financial incentive because the investment opportunity is so much greater for them with the full retirement possibility. And so it's actually confusing as to why these 5 critical mistakes are made by those who have made so many strong decisions, command decisions, important leadership decisions. But then when it comes to themselves, they can't stop and take a step back. And that's why an experienced military defense counsel is so important for these folks. Look, the system changed, but senior leaders are still operating under old assumptions. You are not protected by rank anymore. You cannot trust the people you've trusted for decades. And you have more to lose than any other service member, which means you need to be smarter about protecting yourself. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to subscribe. If you know someone interested in the truth about military law, share. Criminal allegations change everything, and the way you respond can have lasting consequences for your career, your family, and everything you've worked for. Understanding how the system actually works is the first step to protecting yourself and your family.